Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz. Will and I are back again for another spectacular Marvel Plus talk. And of course, today we are going to do a top 10 X-Men characters rank. So from me and then from Will. Will, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Very good. Uh, oh my God, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Oh my
hmm
God. Um, but I mean, this is a good way to start your Valentine's Day tomorrow. Um, yeah, so we're doing our top 10 favorite X-Men characters, and um, this one's gonna be interesting. Uh, I was compiling the list, and so far, yeah, I've been, I look back at my old list, and then I just kind of adjust my favorites, and so far, from 3 to 1, it's still the same what I made last 4 years ago, back in
hmm
2018. So, how was your ranking? Putting the list together.
Yeah, no, the top three or four were pretty easy, and then
Yeah,
I had difficulty deciding for the rest of it. But
yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know if I trust myself with number 9 for my list. I
okay.
just, I just picked this character because she's from a show I used to watch when I was a kid. So, but
hmm
we'll see. But I think I'm confident, but we'll see. But so the X Men. They're like, it's your favorite superhero team, right? Uh,
I don't know if I'd say they're my favorite.
what's your
Um,
favorite? Uh,
oh, favorite superhero team.
oh my God. There's plenty.
Yeah, that's hard.
Oh man.
Hmm. I don't really. I've never actually
You
thought about it. I like the Guardians. I think.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um,
Uh,
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I tend to think about them more as like individual characters, but I think as a team, I would say the
Guardians.
Guardians.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm very shocked. I thought you were gonna say either I don't know, either Justice League or Fantastic Four, so
Yeah,
around
I
those.
was thinking about the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I yeah or the Avengers. I was like maybe
Mm-hmm.
the Avengers, but yeah. But for me, for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's always been the X Men.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
in general, the X Men is just like the concept of the X-Men is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just like how desperate Stanley was when he's like how many times I had to put a character into radioactive materials or cosmic
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, I just like the idea that you were born with these gifts and it's like, oh, here, you got your powers.
Yeah. No, they're definitely my favorite. Like when I was like around middle school age,
Hmm.
I got really into the X Men. But
Yeah. um
yeah,
that was like a long pause there. I was like, oh yeah, in middle school, love these characters, and then just the silence. I was like, oh, I thought you were gonna
no,
spectacularly.
I just kind of like I
Yeah,
don't know, moved on to different
yeah,
titles, but
yeah. Do you think because ever since like the MCU came around,
hmm
like we now know more about like other superhero teams. Like
right.
because yeah, I was so shocked about Guardians, but then it's like, well, Guardians got huge with the
hmm
MCU, and I can see you probably read the comic books, afterwards, or like the previous like old stories that they had
hmm
previously with the
hmm
the original team.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting Thunderbolts. I'm very shocked about that. So and yeah, so and also, the reason I like this, it's good time to do this, because the 60th anniversary for the team here, and I think it'd be good to get into the characters, because I mean, the X-Men has just a huge like catalog of characters and villains. It's
Hmm.
like inimaginable. I mean, it's just, and yeah. So yeah, let's get into the ranking. I think we can add our favorites, and we'll discuss, and we'll also discuss the versions we see in the movies, because
Hmm.
that's going to be debatable how good they did and such.
Hmm.
Um, and weird too, because I'm just shocked about some of these characters that you think they will be mainstay in these movies, but some they did, but then some I was very surprised. But anyway, um, Will, let's go to number 10. What's your number 10? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. My number 10 was Beast.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
He's in my list, but he's
Okay.
much higher.
Yeah. No, it's. I was making it, and I was getting toward the end, and I was like, I'm surprised Beast isn't on here yet, so I threw him on. Yeah, I don't know. It's I like that. Especially with like the older lineups, the like big, like beefy guy was also there, like
Yeah.
brainy scientist. Um,
Mm,
I thought that was like an interesting dynamic.
yeah, like he was the bronze and the brains at the same
Right,
time.
he was both. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like pre Bane before Bane ever was a thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. And he's like the character that has the most change out of the five of the original X-Men. You know,
Mhm.
because of the mutation.
Yeah.
And so and he's the one that has been like successful outside of Marvel, like in terms like he has joined the Avengers.
Mhm.
Like he's in the main, like George Perez, like Rob Thomas, or like Kerry Collin or Gene Collin or something like that. With the Avengers lineup in the 70s, so he's very prolific in the Marvel universe, which is good.
Mhm.
Um, and I can see why you put him number 10. I mean, his movie adaptations have been great. I love Kelsey Grammer as Beast.
Yeah, he does a really good job.
Yeah, and I love his makeup still from
It
the
looks, it holds up. Practical effects are always going to be. They're going to stand the test of time better than CGI.
yeah, exactly, and that's one of the aspects I love about the live action X-Men films, is that they do makeup with these
Hmm.
characters, and that's good.
Yeah.
And I like Nicholas Holt. I think he's a great younger version of Beast.
Hmm.
Despite some you know changes they did with the character since First Class. I mean, in terms of timeline, like all of a sudden he's like this blue fur creature, uh, and then and of course he has he can revert back and forth, which I guess is the neat addition to the character of Beast. But then it's like it's too much like the Incredible Hulk, really.
Yeah, and it kind of defeats the purpose of
Hmm.
like how he was in other films where he had really embraced his like mutant gene. I don't know.
Yeah. Um.
Um, he had such a nice arc in First Class, and then they just reversed it because they didn't want to put
Yeah.
the actor in all the makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is sad. And
Hmm.
I mean, because I yeah, it's that's one of the things you can at least give the MCU is like the Guardians actors or actresses and the makeup are still in the makeup.
Hmm.
So like I don't know. It's weird with the X-Men, but I mean it's just yeah they're more traditional. Very like they're not like the MCU where they're like a team effort to
Hmm.
you know be uh, comic book like than the X Men films. So But yeah, uh, yeah. Anything else to say about Beast? I mean, there's gonna be more to say when I get to him.
Yeah, we'll talk about him again. So,
Okay, so for my number 10, I was debating this, but then I was like, nah. I Number 10 is Wolverine. I mean, he's in.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah. Um, I mean, I like Wolverine. I think he's overrated sometimes.
I get
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah. But then it's like, oh my god, he's so iconic. I mean, I do dug the three claws. Um, I mean, he has a very great backstory. Like
Hmm.
he's a very tragic character. He's one of the best anti-heroes been kind of created for the comics. So I mean, I sort of enjoy the character, and of course, Hugh Jackman's portrayal is like a big factor. I grew up
Hmm.
watching him, and the character is just was so realized, and with Deadpool 3 and him coming back again, it's like a oh my god, it's yeah. So but yeah, I mean, Wolverine's great. But the reason I don't put him higher is this: I just think there's more characters that are interesting, much better than him, and I feel like they should be more shine on these characters, and I
Hmm.
just think sometimes Wolverine gets too much. Like I never liked the idea of Wolverine being an X-Men leader. Um, at all. And
Hmm.
I never liked the idea of Wolverine and the X Men Ammunition series, despite that's a good show. Um, I think I've always preferred him to be a supporting character, and
Hmm.
that's why I like the version from X Men Revolution, because that's just the perfect way to portray Wolverine and all that. But anyway, your thoughts on Wolverine, and is he in your list? I mean,
Yeah, he'll be higher on my list, but
yeah, of
no,
course.
I definitely get what you're saying about him being overrated. Yeah, he's not number one on my list, but it definitely feels like he's always like the number one X Men character they want to promote. Um,
Yeah,
to the detriment of just like X Men as a
as a team.
brand, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
right.
there's so many interesting like characters and powers, and to keep going back to the same character feels kind of reductive.
Yeah,
But um, that being said, like he's popular for a reason, so it's
yeah,
yeah, no, he's on my list, and we can talk about it more
yeah,
when
yeah.
we get there. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because we can talk more about his solo films because,
Hmm.
like, it's funny. He has like the worst. He has the worst first solo film, and then like his last film is the best in all time. So it's crazy. Uh, like what kind of crazy uh projection of this X Men films are in terms of quality.
Hmm.
But yeah. So let's get into number 9. What's your ninth character?
Yeah. So for this like section of my list, it was a lot of X Men where I just think they have interesting powers.
Yeah.
And so my number nine was Darwin.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. He's like a little more of an obscure X Men, so I didn't know who Darwin was until I saw
First class.
First Class. But
Yeah.
yeah, just the idea of like a superpower that adapts to whatever's happening around it. It was just really interesting. I think there's a lot of cool like I feel like it allows the writers to get really creative with like what the character could do.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agreed. Yeah. Yeah. I think there was a lot of potential with the character,
Hmm.
and then I, it just, I think with his powers being like adapt to this, like the environment and then, or the situation is cool, but then
Hmm.
it weighs the question: how powerful is he to do that?
Right. Yeah. It's kind
It,
of hard to write for that because he's
yeah.
reactive. He's not like
Yeah.
proactive, so it's hard to have him be like a driving force in like a some kind of fight or
Yeah.
encounter. Yeah.
Yeah. that's always been a tough thing when you have characters with like absorbing abilities or like
Mm-hmm.
or capable of like a adaptation to environment kind of characters. But yeah, and I think in the Darwin has like a very cool visual design in the comics too. I like that the movie didn't do, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine with that. Um, but yeah, I just think I think one of the things I did with my list is like it's also how good this characters are relation to the universe
Mm-hmm.
because I I think one of the things that sometimes when you have these so many characters, you need a hook for this character and that you can get uh, like gravitate to. I guess like like a good example is Scarlet Witch. Like she's great as her own character because of the things that has been related to, like grief or her relationship to her brother, or the big one, of course, the Magneto thing, and then like what side she's in. Is she a good person or bad person? You know, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like Darren doesn't have any of that. Um, and and I think we need to build up more about like his personal life
Mm-hmm.
more, because like Cyclops has the brother, Alex,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's very personal for Scott, and then he got, of course, he has the villains like Mr. Sinister. Like I think that's something Darren needs
Mm-hmm.
in the in the comics. So, but yeah, and also he has to be in a team. That makes sense. I don't know where he pops up in the team. Like, is he like a New Mutants or X Factor? Um,
I think it was before X Factor.
yeah.
Um,
Because I wonder if he's like a Grant Morrison type. Um, let me say it. Okay, so he appeared in X Men Deadly Genesis. That's in February 2006. Oh, he's created by Ed Brubaker.
I.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, great, a great creator. I read the Gotham Central comic
Mm-hmm.
series, and that's so good. But yeah, and of course he did Winter Soldier, which is also great. So, but yeah, but what's your opinion on the performance of the actor that did him in First Class? I thought he was very good, and I and obviously you and I discussed this in the First Class podcast. It's like it was
Mm-hmm.
was disappointing that he had to die.
Right.
Like like I get what they were doing it, but then it just was kind of lost in the shuffle, and we sort of forget Doran in the First Class movie towards the end
Mm-hmm.
of the act. Um, but yeah, I just thought he just has so much potential, and I just thought they wasted that character in the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, yeah, I think the actor did a great job, which is why, like, that's part of the reason the character stuck with me
Mm,
after the movie, and I wanted to like learn more about it.
yeah,
Um, it's- yeah, it just seemed interesting, and then he was underutilized.
yeah, as always with every X Men character in the movies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
which
got to make
is
room for Wolverine 4. So,
yeah, or Charles or Magneto.
yep,
Yeah, and or Mystique.
or
Um,
Mystique.
yeah. Oh my god. But yeah. Any more thoughts on Doran? Uh, one,
No, I'm ready for your number 9.
well, I'm excited because I'm actually a little confident now. So this one is not actually a comic book character. He is now in the comics, but like not as much.
Okay,
But this one is Firestar. I don't
okay,
know. So Firestar, of course, Firestar is this the third member of this 80s show that I
yeah,
saw in the
okay,
kid Spider-Man
yeah,
and his amazing friends with
yep,
Iceman.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I thought this character was cool.
mm-hmm,
She, was basically the opposite of Iceman, fire. She had a cool costume. That was the big thing. I was like, because she and Blink were fighting for this ninth slot, and then I was like, I'll definitely pick Firestar because I just liked the show, Amazing Friends, and she had a good backstory as well. Like they did do like an origin episode for this character, and she was very tragic. Like she's similar to Peter, where she's from a middle class, and a- and then her joining into the X Men, it was really cool. And yeah, it's just very cool character, and she has really great powers. And I don't know why she hasn't been part of the comics, despite she's been in this 80 show. I mean, I don't know, it's as popular like some of the other Spider-Man shows, but it's one that you remember when you're a kid. I
Hmm.
just but yeah, I think because we got so many Fire Creek characters in X-Men, like but I think Firestar is the one that I like the most in terms of using those powers.
Yeah,
Um,
she's interesting. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I'll have Iceman on my list later, and that's definitely
mm.
like partially because Spider-Man has amazing friends.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's like mostly because of like the movies and the
Yeah,
comics, but yeah, there was part of me that was like, and
yeah.
also he was in that goofy show from the '80s.
Oh my god,
But
yeah. It was funny. That show, he had like a sister as well. I was like, what is going on here? But it was really cool. I mean, it, I think it's funny because I think they were supposed to have Human Torch to be in that show, but then they couldn't because of some rights thing. So they
mhm.
made up Firestar to kind of be placeholder for Human.
Yeah, same power, but
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And the name Firestar, I think that's a cool name. So
Hmm.
it runs, so that's pretty cool. That's the thing. You need to have also a cool name. That's just perfect. So, but yeah, there's nothing much to say about her. She pops up here and there, but I don't know. I mean, there's so many female characters that is like more popular than this character in X Men. So I can understand she didn't like stick around, unfortunately. So, but yeah. Okay, let's get into number 8. What's your number 8? Let's go from there.
My number 8 was Rogue.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah,
I have her high in my list. Okay.
yeah. I've never felt like very strongly about her, but I do think that her power is interesting and creates like
Yeah.
cool opportunities for storytelling. So
Wow. I mean, I maybe it's just me. I just love her in general.
yeah, no, I mean,
I I,
yeah,
it's
I'm
just
excited to hear your thoughts about her, but
yeah. Wow. I don't know. Maybe it's because I like just fan watched the '90s show, and but you mentioned her powers. Let's get to that. Um, I That's the reason she's higher on my list. I think she has really great powers, and I never knew that her flying abilities. Like that was when she took them from Captain Marvel. Well,
mhm,
Miss Marvel,
at
with
the
Carol
time,
Danvers.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's funny, and I'm wondering how the MCU will adapt Rogue. Um, so
yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm just excited for them to finally tackle the X Men and just like see the X Men in a larger
universe.
universe. I think it'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. But yeah, oh man, I'm very shocked about Rogue. It's like I can never put her out that low. She's
Okay,
just
yeah, no,
yeah, yeah,
I'm excited to hear more of
yeah,
your thoughts later when we get to
yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah. We'll get into more of that. I just let's discuss briefly about Anne Paquin's version.
Hmm.
Um, I mean I like the version. I just wish he had more to do in the movies.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
At least um she is definitely spot on as Rogue. Um, Despite her relationship with Iceman is not what you expect, but is acceptable, really.
Hmm.
Because she is basically Jubilee in the first X movie. So
Right, they really combined the two, but
yeah, yeah, from the '90s show and all that. But yeah, okay. So, anything else to say about Rogue? I guess we can. move on to my eight. Uh,
Yeah, sure.
okay, so big one. Deadpool is at my number eight.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
I wasn't sure if we were gonna include Deadpool, so I didn't have him on my list. But
yeah, I mean he's. I, I think you. I don't think you would put it if he wasn't associated with the mutants.
hmm
But ever since Ryan Reynolds in the movies, it's like he's now super. Like he's basically another Wolverine for the X Men now. You
hmm
know, and I mean, like his two movies performed so well. I mean, they mock everything about the X Men movies in
hmm
general. But yeah, I mean, Deadpool. I mean, everything about Deadpool is so just awesome, badass. Very like he has a great concept all behind it, and he's like the best parody superhero ever. Like, if you know the background, like because it was Rob Liefeld when he was creating this character was basically a ripoff of Deathstroke from
Right.
DC, and what they came up is funny. Like even the name, I never realized is like Wade Wilson, and then of course in
hmm
Deathstroke he's Slade Wilson.
Slade Wilson. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's just I mean, yeah, I mean, of course his powers are so OP, but
hmm
because of the like because you brought up how like Darwin, there's like a very like potential like greatness of how creative you can do with his abilities to
hmm
adapt. Here is like the writer's just done such a good job of being creative with his healing factor and all that compared to
Yeah.
Wolverine.
hmm
And then he of course he's funny. You know,
hmm
that's the one thing about this character. And I think out of all the X Men characters, I think he is he's the more mainstream, and so I think you can get into the X Men universe by him more easily. So um and I mean he has a cool costume too. I mean like he has an awesome costume and just a great logo, which is basically his face, the mask, and it just really works. Like everything about him really works, and I think speaking of Ryan Reynolds, I think he's the best casting for a character and for
Yeah.
Deadpool, and he is Deadpool.
Spot on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Same personality.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, I'm so excited to see the third one in Phase Six, which is crazy. But yeah, what's your opinion on Deadpool?
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoy Deadpool when he's in the right hands. He can
Yeah,
be a little obnoxious if it's like someone who um, doesn't have the right like
yeah,
style or sense of humor. But
mhm.
yeah, no, I think when done correctly, he can be great. I love the movies.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the movies. Uh, don't judge the person by his color. It always cracks me out when you say that to Cable.
hmm
Deadpool too. Oh my god, and it's just oh my god, it's just this characters, and it's just crazy how like this is the biggest redemption of for an actor slash character as well. Like I never seen you never see that in me. I'm in general. It's like it's only once, and so it's good that Deadpool got fixed because oh my god, I cannot believe what Origins Wolverine did. It's um just
Yeah, that was so bad.
yeah. Oh my god, I don't know what the producers, what the director were thinking. I mean, I don't know what Fox was doing with this character in Wolverine. It just shows just how far they took the X Men characters and just like changed them for no good reason. It's
Yeah,
like yeah, but luckily we got like a more faithful version of Deadpool, which is great. So, but yeah, I'm surprised he's not on your list.
I wasn't sure if he counted as an X Men because he's more of like a standalone.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I did
yeah,
think about it. I
yeah,
was considering him.
yeah.
Um,
Me too. I should just yeah, maybe we should have like explained like every character that is a mutant is accounted for.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it's weird because like there's so many teams in this X Men. That's the thing. It's just yeah, but I just picked the ones that people know, and then I went from there. So you know. But anyway, but yeah, I mean Deadpool's yeah. I mean it's there. He's a mutant. So anyway,
Yeah.
um,
No, he would have been high on my list.
mm, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, all right. Let's get into number seven. Who's your number seven for?
Sure. For number 7, I did Professor X.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have him, but I have one of
Okay.
his sons in my list.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah. I know you like Legion
yeah, so
yourself.
and yeah, yeah. So I
Oh,
put him in this list so easier. But
yeah.
yeah, Professor X, go ahead.
Yeah. I think um, I don't know. I always liked his relationship with Magneto.
Mm, yeah,
Um, yeah, the like parallels between like um, Professor X and Magneto with the like common like not completely accurate, but like
yeah,
um, the like characterizations that have been popularized of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
yeah,
Um, I just thought that was interesting. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I like his relationship with the school and just like as like a mentor for this generation of mutants that's um, coming up. I think that's a really interesting dichotomy. Um,
hmm I mean, he has one of the best wheelchairs. I like.
yes, and he
I
also
mean,
has a sick wheelchair.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I mean, from the movies, and then of course in the '90s show, which I cannot believe we saw that in the movie as well.
mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I totally see. I mean, yeah, the first X is a great character. I mean, he's a great telepath character.
Yeah.
I, I think the movies, like, especially when we went into First Class, I think they did a good job of like expanding the telepath powers more visually, and so I think that was a good thing. And then, and of course, I think Professor X has such a good like character arcs you can go with. Him. Like that's one reason I like X Men: Days of Future Past is that we got like a great Charles story for the character about how he just given up and then he needs to relearn to not give up hope and his dreams that he was trying to pursue. Back
Hmm.
in First Class or in general in the comics about trying to make the human race slash mutant race to be coexist. That like is really great motivation for a character to build up a team, which I like. That's like the greatest. I think it's one of the greatest motivations to start a team. Um, that's one of the reasons I don't like certain like that's why I like Justice League. I like Justice League, but like I don't know why they get together, with the extraneous personality and all that. Where with the X-Men it's like they have a reason to be a team and need to fight for like the cause.
Hmm.
So but that's just me. But yeah, and you mentioned his relationship with Magneto is uh, like it's deeply interesting because it's both a professional slash brotherly kind of relationship, you know.
Hmm.
Um, like the X Men or like Professor X is now Magneto's his only family he has, like despite his religion or like his people, like he doesn't have like his like biological family no more because of what happened with the Holocaust and all that. So, but yeah, and then of course his relation with characters like Wolverine is deeply fascinating, and Cyclops. That's the thing. I like his relation with Cyclops sometimes, and I wish the movies like expand upon that, and just they didn't, unfortunately. Um, yeah, and and speaking of movies, man, this character has the best actors. I mean, Patrick Stewart, James McAvoy, the champ from Legion. Now I need to check his name now. Oh my god. Uh, he's from Game of Thrones. He was one of the let's see. Okay, Legion. He was Harry Lloyd
Okay.
was the actor that played him in the third and final season of Legion. He was great too. I think he was such a good spin image of a younger Professor X before he had the handicap and becoming bold as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I three great actors, and I think Professor X was cast perfectly in the movies. I think. Uh,
Yeah,
so,
it'll be
but
interesting to see who they get for the MCU.
yeah, um, I I don't know. I wish they just bring back McAvoy. I just because when they did Patrick Stewart, it was like hard for me to to just recast it yet again for Professor X. You know, I don't
Hmm.
know. Um, I I don't know who else could be a good Professor X besides getting actors that look bold. You know, like
Hmm.
Mark Strong um or Bryan Creston maybe, but I don't know. I think McAvoy can continue on in the MCU, but we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah,
they're
we'll
gonna do.
see.
But do you have a favorite Xavier? I know you say it was Patrick, right? In our first class.
Yeah, I really liked First Class. So
Yeah. So McAvoy is your favorite Professor X actor, or
they're both good. I
they're
don't
both?
want to. Yeah, I don't want to pick between them.
The year McNeil. I mean,
Yeah.
I just need to throw that question out there. You know, it's like Batman. It's like, who's your favorite Batman?
Mhm.
But anyway, yeah, I'll put a different like a definition for me is McAvoy. I think McAvoy is a great actor. I think he's the best Xavier we got because
Mhm.
he's the most developed. Like, despite I like Patrick Stewart, he's kind of the perfect fan cast. Think about it, and like we
Mhm.
haven't done any personal to him well, except with Logan. I will say Logan is great. Xavier, older Xavier story. So yeah. But yeah. Okay. So let's get into. Oh my God, we're still on your seven, right?
Uh,
Yeah. Because
yes. So so
yes,
now it's time for your number seven.
yeah. So number seven. So my number seven is Scarlet Witch.
Oh,
Yeah.
forgot about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver because I was
Oh
thinking of them as Avengers. They would have been on the list.
yeah. Oh my God, I
Oh
forgot.
wow.
I forgot about Quicksilver. I now hate myself now with
Oh
this
man,
list.
you love Quicksilver.
I know. Oh my God. Should I change my list now?
Yeah, if
Anyway,
you want. And
I mean, well, now you brought up the Avengers. I'm like, I'll put a Quicksilver there, maybe. I don't know.
okay.
Well, yeah. Well, if we do like our favorite Marvel character, I think we can. I can definitely put Quicksilver there. So, but yeah. Anyway, um, I guess I put Scarlet Witch here is because I think her character is much more in depth. I think the MCU has done such a good job with the character. I actually bought her comic. That's the thing. If these characters, I put them in the list because I like them, but also if I have a lot of interest in these characters, if I made a video about, or I made a trip review, or like I just bought a comic with them, then
Mhm.
you're in my list completely because that shows that I really like this character and I really like Scarlet Witch. I think the character has really great powers despite how confusing it is. But I don't care. I think it's visually like striking. I mean, the red. like projection, like stuff out of her hands is really cool, and you could do a
Hmm.
lot of fun things with it. Her costume is iconic. Um,
Yep.
they've done a really good job of being diverse and changed over the years, which is great. And Elizabeth Olsen, she's a great actress. I like her, and I
Hmm.
think I'm very happy for her in this role. And I think she was the best part about multiverse. And of course, I love One Division. So, but yeah, and I know you brought up the Avengers. She's a great Avengers too. That's the
Hmm.
thing. Just like Beast, she's another character that's been well diverse in the Marvel universe.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just crazy how like because sometimes people I think because I I want to stress that yes, the X-Men does feel like a self-contained team, just like Batman, but you don't
Hmm.
realize how much they actually affect the whole universe. Like the Batman family like have their affection in the DC universe. Like Dick Grayson, Nightwing is the leader of the Teen Titans. And Batgirl with Oracle slash Oracle is the first Prey leader. Of course, Batman is Justice League member and slash Outsiders founder member, whatever. Yeah, these X Men characters have been outside of the Marvel universe. Sometimes they're in the Avengers or the Fantastic Four, or whatnot.
Hmm.
So I mean, Kitty Pryde has been a Guardians too. So yeah, so it just shows how diverse the X Men are as a team.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, there's nothing much I can say about Scarlet Witch. I think she's a great character, and she's one of the best female characters. I would say in terms of my liking of the X Men characters, because
Hmm.
before the MCU, this is something I want to address that the X Men had the best female characters. You know,
Yeah.
I
I mean, yeah.
you know
It's just
you.
been great for diversity and representation the entire time. Just
Mhm.
like by virtue of uh, like the stories that they were trying to tell and like the themes that they were exploring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think Scarlet Witch now. I'm like crying inside. I was like, oh my god, I love Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Yeah. I now I'm like, I know, I know what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be a tie. Anyway, let's
Okay.
let's move let's move on. Uh, let's go to your number six. Let's go from there.
Yeah. I did Gambit for my number six.
Oh, Gambit. Okay,
Yeah.
he's in my list, but
Okay.
he's
Cool.
he's much higher, and he's gonna
Yeah.
be a tie to a character that I just mentioned.
Yep.
Um,
Okay. Got it.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think he's got interesting powers and like a cool outfit. And
Mm-hmm.
depending on how much they lean into the Cajun accent, he can be really funny. But
Yes. Oh my
yeah,
god. Yeah. He's funny in the '90s show. It's
yeah,
like the case action is just hilarious. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, I agree with you, Will. I mean, Gambit, like he has one of my favorite powers,
hmm,
like kinetic energy, and
yeah,
so
it's really cool.
yeah, and I just like how creative you can use the character with the stick and the
Hmm.
cards.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get like a good adaptation of him soon.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. That's he's the character I mentioned the most. Like I was foreshadowing about. He's the weirdest character that the X Men films did not use. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't in the original trilogy, and then what's funny? X Men Origins Wolverine.
Hmm.
Um, so I saw this video. I should maybe send you a link with it. This channel always nerdy does retrospective reviews on video games of the
Okay.
superhero stuff.
Hmm.
When he got to Origins Wolverine, which, by the way, folks, that's a great game. Just play that game over the movie. Um, yeah. Do you know what the Fox did? They actually put Gambit because he was in the game, not because he was in the screenplay.
Really?
Yes, he.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so because they were sharing the screenplays with the studio because they were, you know, that game was supposed to be a virtual Wolverine game, but then they had to make that to a tie to the movie. And then apparently, when they were doing the character, specs or list, they saw Gambit, and then they put him in the movie.
Hmm.
So, like how crowded you're gonna make that movie now? So, but yeah, I'm very surprised this character just hasn't had I like things about Taylor Kitsch Gambit, you know, like he looks like the part, you know, and I don't know, like he did a good job with Cajun accent, um, but I wish we could chew more on him in the films, and I mean, it was weird to have Jan Cham to be Gambit, but I think I
Hmm.
could have been won over, you know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, let's hope MCU can do the character better.
Yeah,
Um,
hopefully.
yeah. So yeah, yeah. But yeah. So do you want to move on?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's.
What's your number 6?
My number six is Nightcrawler.
All right.
Uh, is in your list?
Yeah, he is.
Okay,
I like
so
Nightcrawler.
I mean, oh yeah, I know. I like Nightcrawler too. I mean, first off, great visual, great power, um, and great just overall backstory slash connection to this universe as general.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I love everything about Kurt. Like he's such a great tragic character. I think he's one of the most fun characters to to see in the movies. I mean, like I am in medium, and I think he's been well adapted to the medium of Marvel content, which
Hmm.
is great. And I like his relationship with the X Men. Like when the Uncanny X Men were first appeared, Nightcrawler did such a good job of setting up how they're being persecuted and how different they are from people, from normal people. And I think he really set that up perfectly with his look. Um, yeah, and just his teleportation powers is great. Like I love the smoke. That's such a cool way to visualize teleportation. So, um, yeah, I just dug Nightcrawler, and I mean his relationship with Mystique is quite like fascinating and just so tragic, and I just wish the movies expand upon that. Like they did two times to tease that relationship, and it's like like the shows did that more. Like Revolution actually does more with the Nightcrawler, his mother's Mystique relation, uh,
Hmm.
through in the seasons, and I don't know why the movies have done that. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, any thoughts on Nightcrawler? I know you have him on this list, but just
Yeah, he'll be
briefly.
higher on my list, but
Mm,
no, I think he's interesting. His like background is, there's some good drama in there,
yeah,
and then he's got really cool powers, and he's visually distinct. It's just a good character design.
yeah. I like we have blue people in this list,
Hmm.
so
Yep.
I mean, despite the makeup, it's funny how the X Men films would just get blue people. So,
Hmm.
yeah, but that's it's very funny. But
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, everything I like about Nightcrawler, he's great. I mean, he does have the greatest. I mean, he gave us the best opening for a sequel.
Hmm.
I mean, that's why he's also in this list. Is that it's just like, oh my god, yeah, just great use.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, I think that's enough to say because we can say more, but yeah, the other things that you can address in your ranking, Will, when we get to
Hmm.
Nightcrawler. But yeah, let's get into number five. Who's your number five?
My number five is Iceman.
Oh, okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I know him from the comics and the movies. As we said earlier, he's in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
yep.
Um, and
Uh,
yeah, I mean, just like a classic character. He's got his ice powers.
yeah.
You know, I was about to say that recently, but it's been a while now. A while ago, they made him like um, come out of the closet in the comics.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, he was just like one of the characters that kind of X Men's always been kind of like a way for Marvel to address like social change and like um,
mm, or social
moving toward a
awareness.
yeah, like moving toward a more like tolerant society. So
That's true.
it's exciting for like an existing character to become like part of that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. Because it's funny when you brought up because I was going to mention if you think you forgot about he was gay.
mhm,
It's funny because X2 we actually did that like the social awareness or like the prejudice of mutants.
right,
How his mom say like, "Can you not be a mutant?"
right.
Which
It's
is
just really similar to like, can
yeah,
you
and
just like choose to not be gay?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like
It,
it's not how
and
that works.
yeah, and it's like, wow, you went that far. Um,
Yeah, no,
it,
it's because like when those movies were coming out, that was like the
yeah,
closest parallel that you could make.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I wouldn't. I'm bringing it up because it's fascinating. We did it with Iceman. That's like really fascinating. We did that with Iceman, and then later on, we made that like actually make him be actual gay. What him already be a mutant. It's kind of
hmm
interesting. But yeah. Yeah. It's him and Beast are like the. I mean. The original five X-Men characters are very like diverse ever since they appeared, you know.
hmm
But I have to say him and Beast are the more successful because I just feel like from Cyclops to Angel, they've been way underdeveloped.
hmm
Well, in terms of certain adaptations, like I can say is Beast and Iceman have more successful in the live action stuff
yeah,
than animation. Where I flip flop that is Cyclops, Jean, and Angel have successful animation mediums, but they don't have really great live action stuff.
hmm
But I mean, Jean is a little more successful, but I don't think they really got Jean right.
no,
Um,
they haven't.
yeah, with the Phoenix
Uh,
stuff. But yeah,
yeah, I still can't believe that they got the same guy to try to do the exact same storyline twice.
twice.
And it was terrible both times.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I, I still have like I still feel sick that I do put X-Men Last Stand in my movie ranking, but then it's like, I mean, Dark Phoenix is just like they go too far to being serious, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then like I like Sophie Turner as Jean, but like we never spent time with the character, you know,
hmm
those movies. So it's just weird that we're making her this important and this important in this Dark Phoenix second attempt.
hmm
So, but yeah, yeah. Well, and that's why I like Iceman because like what they do with Iceman is like great. Like I
hmm
think his young age is actually successful to adapt. So like you do a
Yeah.
lot of things with him, like teenage angst, and then coming of age kind of way of storytelling. And I think
hmm
the original trilogy did such a good job with that with Iceman. Um, but also he had a great actor. I mean, Sean Ashmore. who play
Hmm.
him in the trilogy, and of course he popped up in Days of Future Past. Like he's awesome. I think he was the great casting for Iceman.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and he's going to be a tough one to cast if you bring him in the FCU.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, and I love how progress his ice powers were in the movies because you
Hmm.
saw how the special effects got better and better with him.
Hmm.
Like the point where we actually got him to be like ice cover in Days of Future Past. And like him
Hmm.
sliding just like Killer Frost or Elsa from Frozen in live
Hmm.
action. So
Yep.
it was very cool. But yeah. So anyway, um, anything else to say about Iceman? Um,
No, I'm ready to hear about your number five.
okay, my number five, not not ice. Sorry for that pun, but the weather. Storm.
Hmm. All
Storm is
right.
yeah. Storm is my number five.
Hmm.
Is she in your list?
Yeah, she's.
Okay, okay. Yeah. I mean, I love Storm. She's my number one favorite X-Men female character of all time.
Hmm.
So, well, for a lot of reasons. Number one, her power is the most like creative and the most useful of any superheroes of all time. Like
Hmm.
when I don't know you seen if you seen the version of the Secret Wars in the '90s Spider-Man show, like
Hmm.
Spider-Man totally explained why she's like the perfect candidate to be in the team, and it's like it makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, oh my god, I love Storm. She's great. Oh my god, I love the white hair. That's the thing. Some reason white hair. I like female characters with white hair. It's just like it strikes. Like that's why I love Gwen Stacy. Well, I mean Gwen Stacy's blonde. What am I saying? uh, but yeah, I mean Storm is oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. I like how the artist draws her. Um, but also I really dug her diversity and her like just her issues of claustrophobic is so fascinating.
Hmm.
It's her had to overcome her fear, and then her being a leader is really awesome, and just her leading the team in such efficient way. Um, it's just everything what you want for a character to be great. But I'm kind of happy at her five. I will say I wish we did her justice in the X-Men movies, and it just kills me that they just never got it right there. Um,
Yeah.
I
I don't know.
just
I thought Halle Berry did a good job,
yeah, I don't hate
but
Halle Berry. I
yeah.
it's, I mean like he's one of those like if you're not gonna do her like what is it her Kane heritage, her African nation,
Yeah.
like if you're not gonna do that, like okay, keep it there, but then say that she's been in America more, like in her lifetime more than that
Hmm.
area,
Yeah.
because X Men Revolution did that, and that worked for her. Um,
Hmm.
and I just felt like it just made sense. But then I like the version from Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, Alexandra Ship. Like
Hmm.
she's my favorite Storm, and I wish she had got more time to do. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
just
wonder
like
if they'll make her Wakandan in the MCU.
yeah. Well, I mean, I wish we used Andrew Bassett to be Storm.
Oh, she,
Like
yeah, perfect casting.
yeah, I mean
Um, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, every time I see her with the white hair, it's like,
Hmm.
oh my god, are you teasing me now? Like, just like it's. I mean, she was to be, before Haley Berry was cast. Like, she was the first to be in the list to be cast Storm, but the money, yeah, yeah. But I'm happy that she's getting the Oscar for Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Hmm.
Which is a big deal. But they kill her off. They could bring her back. And it's like, oh no, she's different. I'm totally fine to bring her back in a different role and be Storm.
I
So
don't know.
No, I'll accept that. Like they did that with like they did that with Michelle Yeoh. They did that with Gemma Chan. Like,
Well, yeah, but they weren't recognizable.
I'm like, okay, all right, that's true. I was hoping you didn't bring that, but uh, I mean, like if you give her like the long hair or the mohawk from the comics, it's like, oh, that is Andrea Bassett.
Hmm.
Um, but you know what's funny? Um, uh, I did a Green Lantern podcast with Chris
Hmm.
yesterday, and he did
Yeah.
not recognize. Yeah, we did that, and also Shazam back to back.
Uh-huh.
He didn't recognize Andrea Bassett as Amanda Waller in that film, so it could be
Wait.
possible.
What? Wait.
Wait, what?
She was Amanda
Yeah, she's Amanda Waller. She's in Green Lantern. That's her first comic book
in
role.
Green Lantern.
Yes, buddy. Oh
I,
my
I
god,
haven't
you
seen. I haven't seen Green Lantern.
Oh my god, you didn't see Grand. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
horrible movie.
No.
So,
That's why I didn't see it. Um.
oh my,
But oh wow, I didn't realize that she was in it.
yeah, he was a man of water, buddy. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And well, I mean, it was Chris' first viewing, so I'm surprised he didn't recognize her. So I can say, yeah, you can cast her to be Storm, and no one will recognize her. I mean,
Hmm.
she's very like she could disappear in the role. So
Yeah. I mean, it would still be. You know, it
yeah,
should still have. It'd be a very similar look for
yeah,
Storm compared to Queen Ramonda. But
yeah. I guess the question is like how old you want to make her character Storm.
hmm.
And that's the thing I'm a little more curious. But yeah, but yeah, yeah. I mean, let's get into the animation stuff with Storm. I mean, I don't know you have this, but it was funny when I was growing up. I was like, I thought in the '90s Storm version
Hmm.
when when she says this like how do I explain? Like she like like he does her blessings before she activates her storm abilities to help the X-Men.
Hmm. Yeah.
I thought that was actually her ability to turn on her powers. I never
Uh,
I never knew that that was just her saying these blessing things before the action. And it didn't make sense why Spider-Man was mocking it and when he crossed over in his show. Uh,
hmm.
I don't know if he had that like I did. I was like, oh, so she's just saying things before she does something badass. But yeah. Anyway, anything to say about Storm? I guess we can move on. Um,
Yeah, we'll come back to her
yeah,
later in my list, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think people should know that I like Storm. So anyway, what's your number four?
Number four, that's where I put Nightcrawler.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
all right. Well, go ahead.
yeah,
Let's
no.
hear your thoughts.
I love his look. I love that like devilish like um he looks like a demon, but he's a hero. That's a fun like uh
Hmm.
duality that he works with, and of course he's like related to Azazel, so that's
Yeah,
some
yeah,
fun like family drama.
yeah,
Um, and related to Mystique, so he's just like very connected to the villains. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so that conflict's always like personal, and he's got um, the like circus background. I don't know. It's just something very like comic booky about his origins.
yeah. That's
Um,
true.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I just he's got like a fun origin story, like really cool design, and just really interesting powers.
yeah, yeah. I
So.
agree. Yeah, it's funny. He's like half Robin meets I don't know, John Wick maybe.
Hmm.
I mean, I totally forgot about his circus background, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's always been the mainstay for that character.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I forgot about his father, Azel. That's what's his name.
Azazel, yeah.
Azazel. Thank you. I'm sorry. Um, yeah, another character that looks visually striking. I mean,
Hmm.
the red works, and I mean, even in first class, he looked really great there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I I mean, I love the family drama because also like the reason I have Rogue and him as well is because they're technically step siblings. You know,
Hmm.
if you think about it, because Mystique is the stepmom for Rogue, um, and I really like the combination of Nightcrawler and Rogue as being step siblings. It's great. And they do a lot with those two characters in X Men Revolution, which is great. Um,
Hmm.
which is really fun and spectacular. Which I wish the movies did something with the family drama, and it didn't. And it's like I sort of get it why they didn't do it in the original trilogy, but
Hmm.
then First Class, it's like it was so set up, and then when we got to Apocalypse, they didn't. It's like why? It's like oh my god, it's just so weird. So it's like I don't know. So it's just yeah 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 Nightcrawler, yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
Um, but this is where we can add more discussion.
Hmm.
Favorite actor? Do you like Alan Cumming or you like uh Cody uh, Plesser or something like that?
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, I haven't really watched um the like later films
mm,
because I mean I watched Apocalypse once, and kind of against my will. um,
it's yeah. I'm
so
sorry.
I don't feel like I can give him like a fair um assessment,
Uh,
but
um,
I do love Alan Cumming's portrayal in
yeah,
X2.
yeah. Um, you, I, yeah, it's really tough because they just waste Nightcrawler in those three films. And
Hmm.
but the funny thing is, they have a great actor. I think Cody is actually a good Nightcrawler actor. He nails the German accent.
Hmm.
Um, that's also another thing I like about Nightcrawler. He's also a German person. It's this blue devil. That's just so funny. Um, uh, his makeup is actually still good, just like X2.
Hmm.
Um, but they don't do anything like they don't do the family drama as I mentioned. You know, especially for a younger version of Nightcrawler, you're gonna do. You think they're gonna do the family drama, but they didn't.
Hmm.
I gotta say it's Alan Cumming because he has more to do in X2. Like he has the best opening scene. He has like actually it's kind of cool. They pair him to Storm and they're kind of similar. You know,
Hmm.
um, I really like their conversation and the plane about bigotry and like how they respond to the humans like threatening them in the moment in the public and all that. I really dug that and it was sad that he didn't return for X3, but
Hmm.
yeah. So I think Alec Conley he's definitely my favorite actor to play Nightcrawler. So
Yeah.
and I hope the MCU use him. Like I hope he's in
Me too.
and actually do more with the character.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nightcrawler in a nutshell. Okay, so I guess we should be ready for number 4 from my list. I guess.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is where I have Beast here. He's in my number
Okay.
4.
Cool.
Yeah, I think he's the best X Men character. I mean, if you think
Well,
about,
you think he's
I
fourth
mean,
best?
yeah, 4th best. Well, I mean, like if you listen to people's favorite X-Men characters or
Hmm.
like in terms of top 5, like Beast is
Hmm.
definitely high. I mean because he's so iconic. Like his look is iconic. I mean the blue fur is just
Hmm.
iconic. He has one of the best stories for any character. I mean, he's so tragic and like he's sort of like a Dr. Jekyll and Hyde slash Miss Frankenstein monster type,
Hmm.
which we all got in first class, which is great. I think he's just, and I love his love of Shakespeare. Like he's basically Spock for me. He's like the Spock of the X-Men. If
Hmm.
despite he's like half bronze slash brains, like he's like Spock. He's like the
Yeah.
mutant Spock for the X-Men, and I think it's just great. But yeah, that's why I dug about that, and I think um I like his relation with Wolverine. I That's the other thing. They're sort of like best buds. The wild people, but in different ways.
Hmm.
But yeah, I yeah, it's everything about Beats is great, and I like the character. And best actor is Tracy.
Yeah. You're
So
number four.
yeah, so number four is Beast. So yeah, Beast is up here. I think he's one of the best characters in any of the X Men in terms of being adapted. I think so. I feel like that's one of the things that makes him be my top four ranking, and it's just his relation to the mutant dilemma is also fascinating. Like
Hmm.
he's out of the five has turned into like a mutant, with physical deform or and being a creature,
Right.
which is fascinating. And also like he's been part of the Marvel universe as well. Like that's another thing, like how he's part of the Avengers, and I think that's one of the things I like about that character. So
Hmm.
and yeah, and I enjoy his live action appearance. I mean, Kelsey Grammer will be always my favorite. I think everything about that just he was nailed perfectly in that. Yeah, and I like Nicholas Holt in the film. At least I happy he actually became amazing after X-Men 3, because it was going to be
Hmm.
weird not to have Beast in the live action films, sort of like Gambit or I don't know who or Angel in that matter.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah. So let's get into our number three. Who's your number three?
My number three was Wolverine.
Oh wow, that high.
Yeah. It's yeah. I agree with what you said about him being kind of overdone, but I don't know. I think he's iconic for a reason. Um, you know, his claws are just you know really awesome.
Yeah.
He's got like he's got the metal skeleton. He's got just like the attitude. He's just like a quintessential like cool guy character.
Yeah.
Um, and then couple that with his like healing factor and his like virtual immortality. Like he's really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and I like you know, unfortunately, uh, writers find him so interesting that they will write stories about him instead of other characters. But
Yeah.
you know, still,
Yeah. Still, I mean, and you can see why. I mean, he has everything that like works for him as a character. He's an outsider
yeah.
basically. Not only in the in just in general, but also in the mutant dilemma. He doesn't really care about the mutant agenda, but like the reason he joined the X-Men is just to find purpose, in
Hmm.
life. And
Right.
that's makes sense,
Hmm.
for a character that has amnesia, which is um difficult to do, but I think with Wolverine is sort of acceptable, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
despite how the movies made that very convoluted, but I mean, they somehow worked it around somehow.
Mhm.
So yeah, but yeah, I actually why. I mean, he's like you could do a lot with him. Like you can do like a center story between time periods. That's the thing,
Mhm.
and like either World War II or the 1800s. Like how was it Origin, the Wolverine graphic novel did
Yep.
to explain the bone claws. Um, or Weapon X, the story there, like it's very like sci-fi slash body hoarder,
Mhm.
sort of, how the adamantium like struck into Wolverine's body, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's plenty you could do with this character, and it's because with it's sort of tough to have your lead to be like a clean cut hero like Cyclops, which is not
Mhm.
true because Cyclops is very, I mean, yeah, shady. I mean, he left a wife and a kid over to be his dead wife that he loved the most,
Mhm.
So, but of course, that's just maybe going too far. But I mean, there's things to do with Scott, but I just think with Wolverine is like he's more compelling. He's just more tragic, and then just a little more like a Batman type that you can get behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. So, and what I mean, well, do you have a favorite voice actor? Do you like from the Wolverine? That's the thing. He has been well voiced by the animation actors or video games.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man. I don't know, he's got so many different. That's hard.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, the one from Wolverine is very iconic.
Mhm.
So I think that rivals that. But the one in the '90s show is very iconic. Uh, I mean,
Yeah,
I,
and that
I
would probably be the one that I would
associate.
pick. Mhm.
Mhm, okay. Um, I agree because I mean, nothing beats the lie. You didn't see that coming, little man. When the first episode, when he
Mhm.
sucker punched Cyclops, and he's like, "You didn't see that coming, little man." After just losing Morph and his
Mhm.
best friend. Oh my god. So yeah, he's just so funny.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So all right, that's very cool. I mean, I get it why he's high on your list, so that makes sense.
Mhm.
So all right, so you want to go to my number three?
Yeah.
So this is where I put Rogue. So
Okay. Cool.
yeah, so Rogue here. I mean, I like she's my second favorite X-Men female character. The
Mhm.
reason she's above, I think, Storm is because there's just a lot more like, despite my opinion on the film version Rogue, they at least I can take that take more than Storm.
Mhm.
Like, and she has more to do there than Storm ever did in the films.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like like she has a really great they like thematic around the team in terms of
Mhm.
relationships. And first off, with the comic side, like I love her relationship with Gambit. That's the big thing. She's high here, because I love that relationship. This very
Mhm.
like I don't know, like Bonnie and Clyde kind of meeting scenario or something like that.
Mhm.
Like the Foss and uh, 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 Jonah kind of relationship, like that, But
Mhm.
I think Rogue is just very compelling character, and she's tragic too. I mean, I think the hook of her not touching, she cannot touch people because if she touches them, like she can kill them with her soaring powers. And I think that's really like a catch 23 for Rogue, just like Wolverine, you know. And
Mhm.
I think that's really great. That's why I think the first X-Men works is you feel sorry for her because she cannot touch anyone, without killing them. So
Right.
yeah, so I really dug that. So and she has the best costumes of any X-Men character. I like the green and little kind of scheme. I mean, the '90s, like Jim Lee design is the best of Rogue, in my opinion. But yeah, and also the Avengers, the Marvel Now look to Rogue
Hmm.
is also great. I like that too. And I like her white stripe hair as well.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
it's
it's a
very
good look.
iconic. Yeah, good look. So everything about her, I think is like it's really good.
Hmm.
But yeah. Any more to add with Rogue? Like we didn't maybe address. Also the mystique. That's not another thing. That I wish the movies delved in is like it's very fascinating that her stepmom is Mystique
Hmm.
and Destiny as well, the other mutant with Mystique. And I think like especially if you read or you see in the show the Days of Future Past, she takes over the Nightcrawler role where she discovers her family heritage that's Mystique as the stepmom and stuff like that. And X Men Evolution really digs deep to the Mystique as being the mother of those two mutants, Nightcrawler and Rogue, and I really dug that. And it makes it makes sense in the original trilogy, and I don't have a problem with that. And then of course the first class timeline is like you couldn't really see that. I could see that with Nightcrawler when they brought him over, but they didn't do nothing with that. So it's just a shame. But yeah. All right, let's get into our number two. Anything to say about Rogue? Are you ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on, I think.
Okay. Who's your number two?
Yeah, my number two was Storm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, you're good. But yeah. Yeah. Explain. Why so high? I'm very shocked.
Yeah,
Um.
I mean, I just think she's really badass.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
she's like a great design, great powers, great character. Just having like a black female superhero, especially like back when she came out in the '60s, was really important for representation.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just really cool character. It's cool how her design has evolved over the years.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you got like her classic look, then the like punk
Mohawk.
look, yeah,
Yep. The
in the
punk look.
'80s,
Yep.
yeah, and then like a nice little medium between the two later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. And of course, the Dream League design is just also iconic, and that's definitely one people is their favorites.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then things like and I also like how Shadow King, uh, plays with Storm. How she like gets connected to Xavier. That's another thing we should bring up is the Shadow King is also enemy to Storm as well.
Hmm.
That's another thing that's cool is that some of the X Men villains are personal villains against our X Men characters. Like Mystique is a personal villain against Rogue and Nightcrawler in a different way,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and here like I like how Storm has her own villain, the Shadow King, who like use her as a thief,
Hmm.
So that's why I didn't mind how they replaced Apocalypse to be the one that takes over like Storm and all that.
Hmm.
So yeah, but yeah, and you say you didn't mind Halle Berry's portrayal, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. I will go with the young actress. I thought Angela Ship was just pitch perfect. I just thought she was great as Storm, and I wish I
Oh
had
yeah.
more to do.
Yeah.
And I don't mind Halle Berry, but just isn't my Storm. Yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that she lost the accent in one movie is so funny.
Hmm.
And of course, the Toad line from the first X movie is like, ugh, really?
Yeah. It's not her fault.
Yeah. I mean, I would take that over night, die another day. There's a line she says to the bad guy. This is so funny. She say, "Your mama," and then say, and then she adds on like she's very disappointed on you. It's just like, oh my god, really? It's just, oh my god, so awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Die Another Day is the Batman Robin for James Bond. Just letting you know. So yeah, so but yeah, yeah, I good on you put on number two as Storm because I feel
Mhm.
bad now. But yeah. So anything else to say about Storm?
No, I'm ready to hear about your number two.
Sure. So my number two is Legion, David Haller.
All right.
Yeah. So um despite not like I think I read one comic for him in Marvel now, but his show was the big thing. I think David Haller is probably the most fascinating and complex mutant ever. I
Mhm.
like the idea of like multiple personality and this one character, and with having well also having multiple powers, which is very cool. And even more powerful than his father, Professor X. I think this character was very like I think he's been used quite well in the series, and despite he's obscure, he's been major. I mean, he's the reason that we have Age of Apocalypse.
Mhm.
Like the reason that happens is because he interfered and tried to stop Apocalypse starting something, and he,
Mhm.
he allowed Xavier to be dead, and then that's where everything goes to heck in that storyline.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and just everything about him works. Just an unreliable narrator, or protagonist, and I just think everything just like he's also visually like striking, and just oh my god, like Dan Stevenson's is great as this character, and I was so geeking out in season two when they like made him have the long hair and the cape, that just like from the comics,
Mhm.
and late in season before we ended season two is really great, and yeah, everything about Legion is just very iconic. I really dug this character. But what's your opinion on Legion? In general, with the character.
Yeah. No, I think he's interesting. So up there with uh, Franklin Richards as
Mm,
like those like
yeah,
super overpowered characters that feel more like gods than people.
okay,
Yeah, there's always like an interesting. I don't know. Everything gets really like trippy when you have characters that are that
yeah,
powerful and like that able to bend reality. So yeah, it can be really interesting.
yeah, yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, and I think his relationship with Xavier is quite interesting. I hope
Hmm.
one day we'll see them in the MCU. You know, that's like
Yeah.
the one aspect we haven't done with it. With Professor X in the movies.
Hmm.
So yeah. But yeah. So let's get on to number one. If we have, is there anything to say about Legion? I think he's just a pretty cool character and a great one.
Yes, I'm ready for number one.
All right, let's go to your number one. Who's your number one?
I have a feeling we have the same number one.
Really? What's your
Well,
nu- well
maybe not. Maybe not. Never mind.
well
Never
well
mind.
I have tie. I actually have a
Right.
tie for my number one. So I think I know what you have your number one. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So Quicksilver, right? I guess number one for you.
No, it's actually. I forgot that you said. I forgot who yours was because you did.
Oh
Uh, it's actually mine's actually Cyclops.
oh okay.
I remember who yours was now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um.
Well, I I thought it was Quicksilver, or I I was thinking Scarlet Witch, but for some reason, like I was like,
I I
oh
had I had forgotten about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver when I was coming up with my list.
yeah, yeah,
Um.
um, which
Yeah.
makes sense. This makes sense.
Yeah. Scarlet Witch may have been number one if we had done. if I had remembered. But
Yeah.
yeah, but no, I just have like a big like nostalgic spot for Cyclops.
Hmm.
Just because like at my local movie theater, they used to have an arcade of like that old side-scrolling X-Men game,
Oh yeah, I
and I would
remember.
I would always pick Cyclops whenever I played it.
Yeah,
Um, and then I really liked him in the movie, even though they like
shafted
did him
him.
dirty. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Ugh.
yeah, and then he's had some other better adaptations.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know. He's just like a good. I always love the like Boy Scout character, like Captain America or
yeah,
Superman. Just like a
yeah,
good leader.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
I, I mean, there's things that worse for Cyclops. I mean, he has the family drama,
Hmm. Yeah.
with Alex Summers, and Professor X as his
Hmm.
his father figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jean as being his lover. It's very very comic book trope love
Hmm.
interest, type of drama.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and yes, his relationship with Magneto is quite fascinating. But like Mister Sinister, that's
Hmm.
like that's the other reason I have I have my other number one here is because he has this relationship to this character that I like, with Mister Sinister, and yeah, everything about Cyclops is like because if you can do Captain America right, then it should have been no problem with Cyclops.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
they're very similar. Like their personalities are very similar.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, he's not perfect either.
right.
I brought up
It'd
I
be
don't know.
boring if he was actually perfect, but it's
Yeah,
it's the fact that he feels like he has to project that like perfect persona out into the world that makes
yeah,
him really like interesting and more complex.
yeah,
He's like constantly failing to live up to like the vision other people have of him. I
yeah,
think that's interesting.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Um, but yeah, it's just very crazy. That the movies just don't do him well. I
Hmm.
think Taylor Shane, or the young actor that plays him in the younger version and the
Hmm.
prequels, I think they gave him like enough material. I think they treat him better there than James Marsden's.
Yeah.
I feel like, which is weird. Um, uh, but I mean, like I don't know, like it's just so funny that they cannot do that, and it it just like he needed Gene. Like if I think what was successful with the prequels there was because he didn't have Wolverine there, so
Hmm.
that was good.
Yes. Yeah. There wasn't anyone to necessarily overshadow him, or
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah, or take up the spotlight.
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, and then I just and then he has a very cool visual look too. I mean, he has really great costumes.
He does. Yeah. I mean, that's why I would. That's why I first picked him in that
Mm,
video game. You know.
yeah,
Um.
yeah. No, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Which one is your favorite? I think mine's is like the Jim Lee design. I like that, or the classic like the whole head being covered with the with the cowl. It's very
Hmm.
iconic.
Yeah. No, I think I like the Jim Lee design too.
Yeah,
Um.
yeah,
I love that visor.
yeah. The visor, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I
And then
don't.
like the yellow and blue is
Mm,
iconic.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah. But yeah, I hope the MCU gives him the respect he needs.
hmm.
I which he probably will, because I think he long deserved to be the main leader for the X-Men. Because one of the problems with the X-Men films is that they're not X-Men teams. Like the
Hmm.
Avengers or the Guardians.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So I think it's time to like really hone that in for these
Hmm.
new MCU X-Men films.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. My God, love Cyclops. But yeah, anything else to say about Cyclops? I
No,
think
I'm ready for both of your number ones.
yeah, both my number ones.
Both of your number ones.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry folks. This is a tie. I feel so bad. I was like, oh no, why Will? Why you did this to me? So like we brought up Quicksilver. I was like, oh, I killed myself. So this is a tie. I'm sorry, but I think it's reasonable. So
Hmm.
my number one was Gambit, and
Right.
then slash Quicksilver. So that's my number one. We can get rid of Gambit first because we you already had him in the list and we had like a plenty to say.
Hmm.
Same thing. I mean, well, reason I like about Gambit, he's a very like slash buckling kind of character
Hmm.
if you think about it, who has a great power set, but also in a personal note, just like Quicksilver. When I get to Quicksilver, he inspired my character, my fan character, Kinetic Man. Uh,
Hmm.
so his powers made me inspired to create a superhero character of that same power, but mixed with super speed as well. Uh, so yeah, I think everything about Gamma is just awesome. Power set is great. Look is really awesome. I think his relationship with Rogue is really spectacular. I really dug the Cajun's New Orleans meets with the Thunder girl. That's the issue with the well they like average. I think Anna Paquin does a good job with the Thunder personality with
Hmm.
Rogue, but but yeah, so I think and his relationship with Mister Sinister is a big reason he's number one. I think I love Mister Sinister as my X-Men villain, and I think him being connected to the Mutant Massacre and all of that is quite fascinating. Adds tension to him and the X-Men of
Hmm.
trusting him, which it was is which is greatly displayed in all across the media, particularly in the '90s show, which is great. So yeah, so that's why he's my number one. Yeah, and then my second number one is Quicksilver. I just love Quicksilver. I think people will probably associate him more as a mutant here than his sister, because
Hmm.
how much we have Scarlet Witch in the MCU more than her brother, because her brother died in the Age of Ultron.
Right.
Um, yeah, but yeah, thankfully the X Men films had him a couple of times, and uh, just I mean, this character is the reason I'm doing the YouTube thing. Uh,
Right.
yeah, so I just wanted to thank this character, and I think thank goodness you brought him up because that would kind of just just be so sick in my stomach that I didn't put him on the list because it's the
Mm.
reason I'm doing podcasting, two YouTube channels, and marketing. It's just because this one character just made me head to this direction, and I just love everything. And he has just everything about him works. Like I love his relationship with McNeil in the
Hmm.
medium, which is really iconic. I wish the movies did more with it, which is not. It was just like was they were getting to an apocalypse and then they didn't, and it was so weird.
Hmm.
I don't know why, but and I didn't like Dark Phoenix. We didn't cover that, but whatever. But yeah, and then he has a good look. I like the white hair, and I think I'm very surprised how. Yeah, I am surprised how the both action version of Quicksilvers have the white hair, but I think I like more Damon Pierce one, um, style
Okay.
and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I agree.
yeah, so I mean, I speaking of Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think he was good in the role. I just wish we kept him around, but I don't know. Like, I get why we didn't kill him in the terms of the story,
Hmm.
but you didn't have enough time to just make me care for the character, and I thought that was a wrong mistake and very flawed storytelling for Age of Ultron. But
Yeah, I was disappointed. Like I think it makes sense, but I was disappointed,
Hmm.
and I hope they find a way to bring him back.
They, I mean, we like. It's just funny, like we see him, but we're just seeing him in this like just like cut footage, like for like a flashback, and then that's it. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
I think they should have had him as like a cameo in WandaVision.
yeah, 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 because it couldn't save us from Ralph Bonner or whatever. I I don't know. I was just like, I mean, I guess it's. I mean, at least it was better than say like maybe multiverse, just killing out the characters.
Hmm.
You know, I,
Yeah.
you know, at least we got that. Because I didn't like we got rid of Black Bolt, and then get rid of this perfect, fantastic Mister Fantastic or whatever the casting was. It's just I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just yeah. So yeah, it's just very sad. But yeah, so yeah, this is our top 10 X-Men characters. Did you? I brought up like, was there anyone else you left behind? We can discuss that. I think.
I mean, I already mentioned Deadpool and the Maximoff twins.
Yeah. I brought up
Mhm.
Blink.
Yep.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Who else? I mean, Angel. I mean, but I mean, he's
Hmm.
okay. I. I mean, he's way more fascinating as Archangel than Angel.
Hmm.
So, but yeah. Oh my god, I'm a little worried about the. I hope the recording didn't lost the whole half hour. I, I just oh man. So
Yeah, yeah. I hope not.
yeah. So you know what? You don't mind we do a recap for 10 to 5 just quickly.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So your number 10 was
My number 10 was Beast.
yeah. So Beast. I think it makes sense. Um, I I mean, he's a great character. I think everything about him makes
Hmm.
sense. I'm happy that he's in the list. Not my number 10 is Wolverine. Uh,
Hmm.
as I stated before, as for your number 3 is that he's been overrated. I feel like he is a fascinating character, specifically with his amnesia act, his relationship to female characters like Jean or
Hmm.
Yukio from the Wolverine Japanese storyline,
Hmm.
and his time as a soldier in between time periods like World War II or the Canadian forces, particularly the Alpha Flight. Um, it's all great, and I mean Hugh Jackman is a great actor. I think he's the definitive version of Wolverine. Don't get me wrong. So, but I think we need to spend more time as a team than just focusing on Wolverine every time.
Hmm.
But which the X Men films did afterwards, after the Red Trilogy finished. I mean, got Origins Wolverine, and then he continued on that until his end of the career. End of the film series, Fox. So yeah. Okay, so let's get into number 9. Your number 9.
My number 9 was Darwin.
Yep, Darwin. Uh, Great character. Should have
Hmm.
been
Interesting powers.
answering powers. I could have been a great character in the comics, but I feel like he needed. I think he needs a interesting backstory, or
Yeah.
like a villain that can face him off well.
Hmm.
Because that's like at least Wolverine has Sabretooth. Like he has Sabretooth, and then like Beast. Has a rogue like Gambit has Mister Sinister. Legion has like Shadow King. Etc. Etc.
Hmm.
My number 9 is Firestar. As I mentioned before, I grew up watching the Spider-Man and Amazing Friends. I think the character is very cool. It's a substitute Human Torch, which I think they did successfully. I think she has a really good chemistry between those two characters, and I wish we had more of her in medium/comics. Okay, number 8.
At number 8, I had Rogue.
Yeah, yeah, crazy for her this low.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fair.
yeah, but yeah, that makes sense. At least she's in the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my eight is Deadpool. Again, Deadpool is an awesome character, one of the best parody characters of all time.
Hmm.
And I think Ryan Reynolds is a great actor. I think his movies are great. So I'm very happy we're getting the third film, and hopefully he can be in the MCU. We'll see.
Hmm.
Okay, number seven.
Number 7, I had Professor X.
Yeah, good. You have the leader.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep. First X really great. Great powers. He's very iconic. I think the being bold, having a weird trio really helps. Um,
Hmm.
uh, which weird trio you want? Do you want the '90s or you want the film version? What's your
Uh, I think I prefer the film version, but the
wow?
'90s one is iconic. So
Well, I know that I think I know now with multiverse I can actually get that for real. The
hmm
hover little chair I really
yeah,
want. Oh my god. I can't believe we got it in multiverse and I just dug it. And the
hmm
X-Men theme from the 90s. Dun, dun, dun,
yeah,
dun.
that was nice.
Yeah. And
That's
it
a
was
great
great.
theme.
Yeah, the great theme. It was great to hear that in Miss Marvel too.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Scarlet Witch is at my number seven. I mean, I think she's a great character in the X-Men universe. Again, just like Wolverine and Beast, being diverse in all the Marvel universe, because she is an Avenger, and I think just like her brother, her relation with Neo is quite deep, and the family drama between her and the brother and the dad is really complex, and I really like it when you see it in
Hmm.
the comics. And I think the MCU has done a really great job taking this character to new lengths that we never seen her before, and I think
Hmm.
that's really good. And her costume is iconic, and I like how finally we got her costume with the tiara. It's just pitch perfect. So yeah, Alyssa Olsen is great.
Yeah,
Is like she's the best thing about multiverse. So and WandaVision, number one show ever.
yeah, it
Uh,
was great.
yeah, can't believe it. 2 years. It's been two
Yeah,
years.
that's crazy.
Yeah, time flies. Oh my god. Six. What's your six?
Number 6 was Gambit.
Yep. Excuse me. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Gambit the Cajun, sexy man. Uh, yeah. I wonder he could be you, right? Like, or he could be him or Nightcrawler. Well,
Sure.
we
Yeah.
can fan cast you with these characters.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I can like Jaden could be the Blob. Just let you know.
Why?
Just because I just want him, like, because in the 90s show, that character just always talks about food. Like, you could never beat me. I'm indestructible. I could see Jay beat the Blob. It's like,
Okay. Oh, feels
uh,
mean.
oh, okay, fine. He could be uh, uh, Mojo, the alien TV personality.
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, much better. Oh god, and just laying up. You know? But yeah, so yeah, Gambit number six. I agree. I think it's good in the
Hmm.
instant list. Number six for me is Nightcrawler.
Hmm.
Of course you have him in higher in your list, right?
Yep. Right.
Yeah, and everything about him is just like if he really like successfully jumped what the X Men should be, what the mutant dilemma should be, like so perfectly. And he has such a great visual design by David Cunningham. I think
Hmm.
who drew him, and I think and Lee Wayne did such a good job of writing the character before Chris Claremont took over the X Men run. Uh,
Hmm.
and just like as you said before, Will, about how he's such. like everything about him is so comic booky. You know,
Mhm.
with the family drama and Mystique, and then the circus is like I think it all works well, and I think he has one of the best visual powers of a teleportation person, which is good.
Yeah. Hmm.
With the smoke and all that. So okay, and number five.
Number five, I had Iceman.
Mm, yes. Um, it's good you have one of the five original X Men team. You actually have three of them. You have Beast, Iceman, and Cyclops.
Hmm.
So that's cool. So, uh, yeah, I think I like Iceman. I like ice over fire. So, it's kind of funny I don't have Iceman in my list. But I, I think everything about him is great. I like Bobby Drake. He is a fun character. I mean, he's supposed to be the comedian of one of the team.
Right.
I read. I still have some of the early X Men issues, and he's really funny in that. And it's quite funny how his ice shell becomes more slick over the issues,
Hmm.
which is cool. But yeah, and I think Sean Ashmore, who plays him in the movies, is really great. I think they have perfect casting.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, so hopefully the MCU will cast him pretty well as well.
Hmm.
So number five for me is Storm. He, I mean, Storm is great. As you say before, it's great to have a really strong black character. And actually, this is something I didn't mention in my. Yeah, hopefully, we then lost the recording. But I like that we don't have too many strong black characters, and I like how Storm separates it pretty well.
Hmm.
Like she has a very unique power because sometimes we give the black characters like sometimes electric powers or sometimes strength powers or something like that. And there's a few black characters that have unique powers, but I think Storm has the best one out of all. Just having the weather being her power is great.
Hmm.
You know, um, and like DC has Vixen, who is a black female character, and I like her power set there. But then we don't we don't have too many unique like powers for some certain black characters. So I think Storm does a good job of being the high one for me. So but yeah, so yeah, then we can recap again our 4 to 1. Number four, your four is
Uh,
Nightcrawler, right?
correct.
Yeah. So good man. It's number four. Uh, good, uh, I don't remember the famous quote we do in our group no more. Will I think I'm getting old. Like great mind, great body. That's how we usually say to you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's perfectly sums up Beast. Great mind, great body. So yeah, I hmm. Yeah, you could be Beast and Nightcrawler, buddy. Yeah.
Okay, I'm a blue
Yeah.
guy.
The blue guy, yeah, you be
All right.
the innocent one, man. But no worry, you'll be Cyclops. I can definitely see you say being Cyclops.
Okay.
um, I'm trying to think of who's John gonna be. I'm thinking,
I
who's
think it'd
John?
be Beast.
Hmm, that that I could agree with. Yeah, yeah, I think yeah, he feels more like Beast. Like he has like that like professor teaching which is good. But
Hmm.
yeah, so Beast is my number four. Sorry for the sidetrack, but yeah, Beast is great here. He's number four. I think my he's just so great. It's such a great character. That's like Nightcrawler in terms. He has the most comic booky as well. Like
Hmm.
that's now I'm thinking about it because he too has a great comic book background. Um, just he has a great transformation from his first issue, like his first appearance as being this the smart bronze person with big
Hmm.
feet, and then he turns into this beast, literally. And I think the writers did such a good job of developing that, and he has great live action appearance. I do like both of them, but prefer is Percy Grammer. I think he's really good character. I think he's great in all fronts of the X Men media. Um, number three.
Number 3 was Wolverine.
Yeah, I respect that. Yeah, I think he's in a good spot there. Number three is good.
Hmm.
Yeah, and my number three is Rogue. Uh, I just like the character. I think she's visually striking. I mean, she's a Southerner woman from the South, so that's great. So yeah, and I love absorbing powers, and I think she's the best. Like,
Hmm.
and just her flying. You know, her flying is also a great addition to her character. I like that. Like you can consider that a secondary mutation, despite she took those powers from Carol Danvers in the comics.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah. And okay, let's get into number two. Your number two was
Storm.
Storm. Yeah, I agree with that. It's good you put her high in the list because I will probably just jump out my window. It's just like, where's Storm? Yeah, good. Number two is Legion. I mean, if you guys listen to the podcast, I love Legion, and I mean, me will love Legion as a show, and so I think David Hayler is a great fascinating mutant character who has like really like like very psychological problem and mental health problem as well, and it's fascinating how these people, the writers slash TV writers handle this situation, and I think they do a good job of it. Toeing that line. Um, and I think Dan Stevens is a great actor. I'm very happy I discovered more of his filmography. So that's good. Okay, and your number one was Cyclops, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Cyclops. It's definitely you. He has a great mind and great body. I mean, so yeah, Cyclops. He's the man. So that's good. Uh, and yeah, and then my number one is a tie, as the year before I got Gambit and Quicksilver. Reasons personally it influenced me as a person. Uh, Gambit influenced my fan fiction of Kinetic Man. When I was in CSS camp,
Hmm.
and then Quicksilver is the thing that got me into editing and start my YouTube channel and podcasting, folks. And that's why I'm here today because of that character. So yeah. Whew. All right. I think that sounds good. So uh, yeah, Will, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope this Monday was a fun one.
Hmm.
And for our next podcast, this is official. We are going to do a Ant Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania forecast. That's our next thing because it's
Hmm.
gonna come out this Friday.
Yeah.
How yeah, how excited are you with this movie? What's your level right now?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little nervous because it feels like such a departure from the previous two Ant-Man movies, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
uh,
I'm. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. But I don't know. I'm still looking forward to it.
Yeah,
It's all the same people, so
yeah, which is good.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I like the first two Ant-Man movies. I know you're not as big a fan, especially of Ant-Man and the Wasp, but
mhm. Yeah. But one thing I will say, I think Scott so far has been the most consistent character of any of the MCU characters. To be honest with you,
hmm
like at least the trailers, they really show me they know who this character is. Like I'm very happy that Cassie, the father and daughter relationship, is at the forefront, and like that's been the main crutch of Scott's journey. Like just he, especially I forgot in the first film, he missed all that time with his daughter when he was in
hmm
jail, and
yeah,
and, and so it's kind of cool. We're like almost like wrapping that up here, and so it's kind of
hmm
cool. I heard rumors they're discussing a fourth Ant-Man movie. If they do, I'm not against it. I
yeah. I'd be all for it.
Yeah, I if you do Ultron as the next villain and give me that, then I'm happy to just go to this another journey for that man.
Hmm.
Or a prequel, with Hank Pym. Like I'll be happy with that. So yeah. So I think I'm very excited for this Friday. I'm going to see it with Chris on Sunday. Uh, you know, and be excited. I don't know if Chris will probably join. I need to talk to him, and he probably will join us to discuss that in the spoiler cast. See if his schedule is free during Monday, the following week. But yeah, so yeah, very excited. Can't believe it's already February. It's already the time of February.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah. So thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. Me and Will, of course, will be back again. So for the meantime, watch out for more content and this podcast. Have a good day.